Hi, and welcome to Libby Presents Ghost News Network. Today is our question of the week. Tom, what do you have for us?
So, something I was wondering is, do we think that a spirit needs to know that it's dead in order for it to move on?
I mean,
You said this is a light question.
I think if you're not using a cleansing, if you're trying to communicate and make a spirit realize what's going on in order to cross it over, I would say yes. I know with cleansings, you're pushing the spirit out. You're not necessarily crossing it over, but you're pushing it out of the area. And so if it doesn't, a lot of people, you do a cleansing 3 months, 6 months down the road, the spirit will come back. So I think there would have to be some kind of wherewithal in order to cross it over, and it would want to cross over at that point. If that makes sense. That's a good sentence.
Yeah, sure.
So I would think, yeah, I would lean towards yes. I think the spirit would have to want to move on, because you can't force something like that to do something you don't want it to. You know?
So then is that also implying that if someone dies like unexpectedly, they're automatically stuck?
Well, that's kind of where I was going with it, because it seems like a lot of times places where we get a lot of paranormal activity are places where there were violent deaths or unexpected deaths. So are those the people that, because it was so sudden, as opposed to someone who has a long illness and prepare themselves for death, they move on easier, whereas if they're killed violently or suddenly or whatever, they're less likely to move on because they don't know.
The difference is when you're talking about a violent death, like, for example, Gettysburg, a lot of that stuff that's there isn't intelligent hauntings, it's residual haunting, it's an imprint left in time that we experience when we have our paranormal activity. Mm-hmm. And for the most part, under violent things, that tends to be what it has, it leaves an imprint in the ground. But when you're talking about an intelligent spirit that is either looking for unfinished business or is attached to some type of physical object, I think those you can probably try and convince that they've either passed away or it's time to move on and stuff like that.
See, I was going to say, I don't know that it's necessarily they don't know that they're dead. I think it's more so when you die unexpectedly, you have probably a lot of unresolved things that you never got to take care of. So like, where someone who's been dying and they know they're dying, you kind of get your affairs in order and you make peace with it. But as if you die unexpectedly or before your time, I think the unresolved issues are a lot of what will keep it there. Not necessarily like them not knowing they're dead.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, as far as that goes, I don't think I've ever really given that thought question before. But as we were talking about it, I was thinking like, what if it almost akins to like being in shock from some type of situation where it's like if you get in a car accident, you're kind of in shock after the fact, and then you eventually move on from it. What if it's like that with death, where it's like when you die, it's so traumatic, even if it's a peaceful death sometimes, where it's like, oh my gosh, I'm dead now, and then it's like kind of like that period where you have to adjust and get used to the fact of being dead, where some people it takes a shorter amount of time to accept that fact or a longer time, where not so much they don't know that they're dead, but they need to accept that they're dead.
You also have to keep in mind they're not at that point confined to what we consider linear time. Like, for all we know, for them, a lot of times when you see spirits that are showing up today, they're not new. You're not seeing people that passed away 10 years ago, for the most part. You're seeing people that passed away 100 years ago. What happens in between death and spiritual resurgence, let's call it, where the ghost is able to build up enough energy to start showing itself? There's a piece that we're missing, I think, in between all this. And it's harder at that point, I would think, to connect with a spirit. It's not like a family member or something can help move it on. But then we've had cases where somebody had a violent death in a home and was haunting the home right after, and we were able to get,
Within
occurrences
3 to
and
4
stuff
months.
like that, and stuff like. So I guess it really depends. But I don't think anything is mutually exclusive. I think it all varies depending on the person or the soul.
Yeah.
I was also thinking about it in relation to kids. You know, a kid passes. You know, they're not old enough to comprehend death. So, you know, would it be harder for a child to move on for that reason? So,
That kind of goes with my theory, where it's like, which I just thought of, where it's like a kid wouldn't even know how to accept that they're dead.
Right.
So that could be an explanation why so often we get claims of children, ghost kids. So you never know.
Which is my least favorite type of spirit. It breaks my heart. Anybody else have anything they want to add? Alright, so what did you think of this week's question of the week? Let us know in the comment section below. You can also like, share, and subscribe to our video, and click the little notification bell to know when all of our content is being uploaded to YouTube. So thank you guys very much for joining us on this latest edition of Ghost News Network. And until next time, take care, guys.